Hey friend, in today's watercolor tutorial, I'm going to be teaching step by step how to paint this cute snowman landscape. Without further ado, let's get painting. For today's snowman landscape tutorial, I've got red, orange, sap green, Prussian blue, VanDyke Brown, Payne's gray and black by Winsor & Newton. The paper I've taped down here is a size 5 by 7 inches. I've got some white gouache as well to use for some snowflakes, and I'm using a size 2, 6, and size 16 round Princeton brush. To get started, I am going to water down just a little bit of Payne's gray, and that's going to be our sketch color. And using that, I want to start by sketching loosely a circle, which is going to be the head of the snowman. So I'm just going to start just above halfway and do a nice circle shape. Just like so. And on the inside, I'm just going to dilute some of the pigment just by using some water with my brush. Just like that. And that's naturally creating a little bit of shading for us already, which is really nice. Next up, I am going to do two kind of C curves on either side. And then I'm going to connect those two C curves down below and do kind of like a rainbow curve. Just like that. And then from here, I am going to do a larger oval shape. And this is going to be our large body of the snowman. And our snowman is kind of like a mini one. It doesn't have three snowballs, if you will. It's got two. And the second one is nice and big. So there's our rounded shape of our snowman. And I'm going to take a little bit of water just to kind of loosely dilute some of that sketch line, just a hair bit. And then I'm going to take my brush, and to the right here, I'm going to paint part of my scarf that's kind of tied off. So again, just some diluted burnt umber. I'm going to start with a curve just like so, and next to it there's going to be another curve, and then another curve down below, just connecting those two curves that we laid out. And this curve is slightly a diagonal. Just like that. Moving on to our hat silhouette, I'm going to start with a rainbow curve, just like so, that slightly overlaps amongst the edges. And then on the left and right side, I'm going to paint a C curve. Then I'm going to connect those two curves, just like so. And then towards the top, I'm just going to do a few C curves, just like that, kind of angle towards the right side of the page. And then I'll do a couple C curves, smaller ones, so 3 of those, kind of at an odd angle, just to show that the hat is kind of topsy-turvy. And then at the very end of the hat, I'm going to do this circle, just like so. Then for here, for down below, I am going to mark off real quick our little snow that we're going to have all down below here. And before we keep going with the snowman, I want to get our background laid out first. So what I'm going to do is add some water, just using my size 6 brush. And I'm not saturating everything down below with water. I'm keeping it kind of loose, like some of it has some water, some doesn't. I'm going to mix up some Prussian Blue with a touch of Payne's gray. And using those two colors, I want to start to shade down beneath our snowman, and then add a couple loose patches of shading off towards the right Maybe that's where some of our shadow is. I'm going to add just a touch of it towards the left, kind of loose and watery. And now I'm going to take my brush and just help dilute some of the shadow, just a little bit. I'm going to also smooth the circle edge border, just kind of making it a little bit more symmetrical. Going to kind of buff out some of the blue-gray over towards the right just a little bit. Now we've just got this kind of fun, funky, loose area of snow just below our snowman. Okay, and now that we've got that done, I'm now going to switch gears to our size 16 brush, and I want to add water all along the sky, all the way to the edges of the tape, and along the borders of our snowman sketch. So this is where it can get a little bit more technical, but I'm just going to take my time and just get this sketch laid out using some water, not the sketch laid out, but the water laid out along the sketch, just so that way we are going to have a nice wash of a night sky. Once it's dry, we'll get to add some snowflakes using our white gouache as well. And of course, we can't forget our twigs for the arms of our snowman. Okay, so I'm just going to get some water going. Okay, so I've got a nice even coat. Now what I want to do is take Prussian Blue to start and really saturate the sky with some Prussian Blue. I'm taking the belly side of my brush to do that, just to get these nice broad strokes. And again, I'm painting alongside the sketch of the snowman. And if needed, you can of course take your size 6 brush to do this if the size 16 brush feels just a little bit too chunky to work alongside the sketch. So I'm just carrying over all this Prussian Blue. I'm going to go in and add a few touches of layering of the Prussian Blue as well, just to get some variegation. I also want to make sure I apply some of it along the sketch, just alongside the edges here. It's not a huge deal if your blue overlaps on some of the snowman just a little bit, because we do have our white gouache to kind of help overlap any white if necessary. Like just along this edge here, I'll definitely use some white gouache just to help fix that. Okay. Next, I'm going to get some Payne's Gray, and I want my darkest part of the sky to be towards the bottom. So I'm just going to quickly apply some Payne's Gray towards the bottom areas, and then just paint along that snow sketch line and along the edge of our snowman. And then just fill that in, and then just take my brush and kind of swirl some of that Payne's Gray to layer up amongst the Prussian Blue. And I'm going to go ahead and paint and define this border of the snow towards the right. And then kind of swirl some of that Payne's Gray up top. While this is still wet, I am going to grab a little bit of sea salt, and this part is totally optional. You can of course add in some snowflakes using just the white gouache, but I like to also add a little bit of this kind of loose sea salt texture here. So I'm just gonna add in just a few little bits of the sea salt in our sky. And just a few can go quite a long way, so I don't want to go too crazy. Okay, so I did just a few touches. I am just going to take my brush and smooth out this edge right here. There we go. And now I'm just gonna allow the sky to fully set, let the sea salt work its magic in the sky, and when we come back, we'll add our details to our snowman. Okay, so my sky is just about dry, and I wanna kind of shade and redefine the ovals or circles for our snowman. So I'm gonna take some white gouache and just squeeze some out on my paint palette. And using the white gouache, I want to redefine the edge of our snowman and just make it slightly more rounded. So I'm just going to kind of redefine that round edge, just like so. It may take a couple of layers. Alrighty, and then once I have that, I'm just gonna do a similar thing alongside this edge, just kind of fine tune the edge line here. Next, I'm going to mix a little bit of gouache with some Payne's Gray, just for kind of like a nice sky blue shade. I'm just gonna apply a touch of it on either side, left and right, and some on the bottom here as well. And using that color, oh, and just below the scarf. One more spot that needs a little bit of shading. Now I'm just gonna take plain water with my brush, and using plain water, I'm going to drag that paint out a bit more. this light blue. And this is just going to give our snowman a little bit more shading and depth. I'm just keeping that shading in a rounded shape. All right, now to do the sides of our face here. I also want to drag a little bit of the shading just below the rim of the hat. And then I'm just taking water to smooth that out a little bit. And now our snowman's shape is kind of redefined. Next, I want to add a couple buttons using black. I'm just going to take some black here and do 2 big circles just down the center. And I'm going to leave a little bit of white as a little kind of highlight. So a couple spots where there's some white on the buttons. Alrighty, and there's our 2 circles. They don't have to be perfect. Before moving on to this next step, let's make sure that the head is nice and dry. So if yours is dry, you can add a couple little circles. And again, I'm leaving a little bit of white as a highlight. And these are going to be our cute little eyes. Okay, and then we are going to do a cute little smile using the black, and I'm going to make sure that I leave some space for our carrot nose. So the smile is going to be going in this upside down rainbow curve kind of direction. So for that, I won't be leaving white space as a highlight for the smile, so I'm just going to do black dots. So I'm going to start off towards the left and just do a few cute little circles in this kind of rainbow curve shape. Alrighty, and if your sky is dry, which by now I think it should be set, I'm gonna mix a little bit of black with a good amount of VanDyke Brown to paint our cute little snowman arms, which are basically just 2 attached branches. So I'm using a good concentrated amount of the VanDyke Brown and the black. And I'm going to start by doing a jagged line that's kind of angled, all funky. Then from here, I'm going to add a few more angled branches, just a few more dash lines, all just kind of connected, just like so. I'll go ahead and do the same thing on the left side. Just doing kind of a angled, jagged branch, and then from there, adding a few more different angles of branches. Okay, so there you can just kind of get creative with the elongation of the branches, but just two kind of stuck up there is perfect just below the scarf. Next, I'm going to do a little triangle for our little carrot nose. And it's going to start with a straight line, just like that. And then a longer line towards the right. And then from the bottom, another line that kind of connects, just like that. And then I'm just going to fill that in and leave the top a little bit white as a highlight. And while it's still wet, I'm just going to take a little bit of red using the tip of my size 6 brush and blot in a few touches of the red for some shading and some on that edge towards the left. And if your highlight got filled in by the orange, you can let that dry and then manually add in with the size 2 brush a highlight of orange towards the top of the carrot there. And next up, I'm going to start on our scarf. And for that, I'm going to take some red and I just want to fill in the entirety of our scarf red. So I'm just going to re-sketch alongside these edges here and alongside the bottom of the circle of the head. And then bring that all the way down, following that sketch line that we did previously. And then just at the bottom of the scarf, I'm just going to paint it with this subtle curve towards the end, and I'm just going to add a few dashes, just like little eyelashes stemming off of the scarf edge here. Okay, then from here, I'm going to mix a little bit of black with some of our red, and that's just going to give a deeper red to kind of help shade our scarf. I'm just going to have that ready. I'm first just going to allow the scarf to set just a little bit more. In the meantime, now that I have that mixed and ready, I can just paint using regular red alongside this rim here. Just the rim of the hat. And then I'm gonna go ahead and just fill that in with the red. And then I also want to paint the red circle. That's kind of the tip top of the hat. Okay, so the scarf has set a little bit more, so I'm going to take our dark red, the mix of the black and the red, and apply some of it as shading just below the snowman here, and then some of it at the bottom of this scarf here. And then just a touch of it alongside this area here on the left and right edge. And then just below. So I've got a little square action just here. And then I'm going to paint alongside the left side of this area of the scarf and the right side. All right, and now I'm just going to take a little bit of a damp brush and buff out some of the shading just to kind of softly blend it just a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to take the dark red and do the same thing, just outlining the edges with that dark red, just to give it a little bit more depth and shading. And then I'll shade the bottom of our cute little red circle as well. Okay, so I'm just gonna allow all of this to set. When we come back, we'll add some more snowflakes and the greenery to our hat. Now I'm gonna take my size 6 brush and just start to shape our hat using our Sap Green. And I'm gonna start by doing a rainbow curve, a second rainbow curve, and a third one. Then I'm going to take my brush and do another little rainbow curve, a second one, and then a third one as well towards the edge of the hat there. Now I'm just going to take my brush and totally fill this whole area in with the Sap Green. From here, I'm going to rinse my brush off and use my size 2 brush for some white gouache details. And using the white gouache, I'm going to take my size 2 brush and blot some snow on top of our little twig arms here. So I'm just adding a little bit of texture of the snow. And that way our little twig arms kind of stand out a little bit more. You definitely don't have to go overboard with that, but just a few touches will do the trick. Okay, and now I want to add a little detail with our arms, our twig arms. I'm just going to go back to the VanDyke Brown black combo that we had and add in a little bit more of a connection for our twig arms into our snowman, just so that way it kind of looks like it's more a part of it. So I'm just going on top of the snowman itself and adding in that detail just like so. Now I'm going to go back to our white gouache and do just a few snowflakes using the white gouache. And I want to do just a few kind of more bold snowflakes. So I'm going to do just these two little lines and then add a secondary form, just crossing it like that. So I just want to add a few of those just for some variety with our snowflakes. So again, I start with a vertical line, just like so. I do a dashed line horizontal all the way across, and then I do a couple more diagonal lines just down the center. I will do, let's see, I'll do one up towards the left here. Then maybe just a couple more. And then just one down here as well. Okay, so now we have those few cute larger snowflakes in the midst. Now I'm going to take some green, some sap green, and mix it with some Prussian Blue just to get it a little bit darker. So we're making a nice blue-green. Using the blue-green, I'm going to outline the edges here of the little curves that we did previously. And I'm going to outline the bottom of the green, just bordering along the red. And then I'm going to do a couple curves, just connecting some of the knitted texture and folds of the hat. And that just gives our hat a little bit more shadow and detail. Thank you so much for joining me for today's watercolor snowman tutorial. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any further winter tutorials.